Before I give you what I'm about to give you, I need you to stop. Stop whatever you are doing. Stop thinking about tomorrow. Stop replaying today. Just stop. Because what I am about to tell you in the next few minutes will either change everything for you or you will dismiss it, go to sleep the same way you always have, and wake up tomorrow exactly as poor, exactly as stuck, and exactly as frustrated as you were this morning. That choice is yours, but I promise you this: by the time you finish listening to me tonight, you will never fall asleep the same way again. My name is Nikola Tesla. You know me as the man who harnessed electricity, the man who dreamed of sending power wirelessly across the entire world. The man who held over 300 patents and changed the course of human civilization. But what they never taught you in school, what the history books deliberately left out, is the discovery I considered my greatest. Not the alternating current motor, not the Tesla coil, not wireless transmission. My greatest discovery was something far more dangerous. It was a 7-second window, a 7-second gap that exists every single night in every single human being alive on this planet. A window so powerful that whoever learns to use it correctly can attract wealth, opportunity, and abundance on a level that defies all rational explanation. And whoever wastes it, which is almost everyone, programs themselves deeper and deeper into poverty, struggle, and limitation without ever understanding why. I spent decades studying this window. I used it myself every single night in room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel. It is how I produced invention after invention without strain, without struggle, without what most people call hard work. The ideas did not come from effort. They came through me during that 7-second moment every single night, like clockwork. The governments of this world knew what I had found, and when my body stopped functioning on January 7th, 1943, they moved faster than the ambulance. They took my research, they took my notebooks, they took everything, but they could not take what I am giving you right now. Prepare yourself. The 7-second ritual begins here. Let me tell you what happened the night I died. Not the version in the newspapers, not the version in the history books, the real version, the version they spent decades trying to make sure you would never hear. I died alone in room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel. I had no family present, no colleagues, no students. I had spent my final years in near complete isolation. Dismissed by the scientific establishment, stripped of my funding, living on little more than warm milk and the occasional meal I could afford. The world had taken everything from me. My patents had been stolen. My reputation had been buried beneath the legend of Edison, a man who understood business far better than he ever understood science. I had nothing left that the world considered valuable. But in that room, locked inside a small fireproof safe next to my bed, was something that the most powerful men in the world desperately wanted. Not the blueprints for a death ray, not the designs for a particle beam weapon, though those were in there too. What they wanted most, what they feared most, was a set of handwritten notebooks I had titled simply The Consciousness Experiments. These notebooks contained everything I had discovered about the human brain during sleep, about the precise moment between wakefulness and unconsciousness, about what the mind becomes capable of in that 7-second threshold, and exactly how to use it to reshape physical reality. Hours after my body was found, agents from the Office of Alien Property arrived at my hotel room. Not days later, hours. They had been watching, they had been waiting. They seized every document, every notebook, every scrap of paper in that room. The official explanation was that my research might contain material useful to enemy nations during wartime. But think about that for a moment. Think carefully. I was an old man who had been publicly dismissed as a madman for years. My funding had dried up. My laboratory had burned down decades earlier. Why would they move so fast? Why would the government of the most powerful nation on Earth send agents racing to the hotel room of an old, broke, forgotten scientist within hours of his death? Because what was in those notebooks was not dangerous to enemy nations. It was dangerous to the system itself, the financial system, the labor system, the entire architecture of control that is built on one foundational assumption, which is that ordinary people must struggle for money, that wealth is scarce, that only certain people deserve abundance, and everyone else must work, strain, and suffer for their small share. What I had discovered and documented in those notebooks destroyed that assumption completely. Because what I proved, through years of personal experimentation and careful observation, is that the human mind during those 7 seconds before sleep becomes something extraordinary. It becomes a direct transmission device, a machine that broadcasts desires, intentions, and emotional frequencies into the field of energy that underlies all physical reality. And that field, the same field I called the ether, responds. It reorganizes. It begins pulling the circumstances, the people, the opportunities, and yes, the money that match the frequency of whatever was transmitted in those 7 seconds. If governments had allowed that information to reach the public, people would have stopped believing they needed to suffer for money. They would have understood that wealth is not something you fight for. It is something you tune into. And the moment people understand that, the entire system of control falls apart. They buried those notebooks for 80 years, but the information survived. Because I did not only write it down, I lived it, and tonight I am giving it to you. You have been told your entire life that sleep is rest. Your doctors tell you this. Your parents told you this. Every health article you have ever read has told you that sleep is the time when your body repairs itself, when your brain consolidates memories, when your muscles recover, when your immune system recharges. And all of that is true, but it is only the surface. It is the part they teach because it is the part that keeps you thinking of sleep as nothing more than a biological maintenance cycle, a shutdown period, a blank space in your day. That is not what sleep is. Let me tell you what sleep actually is. Your brain operates on electrical frequencies. This is not philosophy. This is measurable, documented, undeniable science. During your waking hours, your brain runs primarily on what researchers call beta waves. Beta is the frequency of conscious thought, analysis, worry, planning, and judgment. Beta is loud. Beta is fast. Beta is your boss's voice in your head. Beta is the rent payment you cannot stop calculating. Beta is the argument you replayed 40 times today. Beta never stops talking. And because beta never stops talking, it acts as a wall, a firewall between your conscious mind and the deeper, far more powerful layer of your mind that actually creates your reality. That deeper layer is your subconscious. And here is what you must understand about your subconscious. It does not think. It does not analyze. It does not judge or question or doubt. It only executes. Whatever program is running in your subconscious, it executes faithfully, completely, and without mercy. If your subconscious is programmed with the belief that you are someone who struggles with money, then no matter how hard your conscious mind tries, no matter how many strategies you learn, or books you read, or motivational videos you watch, your subconscious will quietly, invisibly, systematically sabotage every attempt at wealth, every time. Because it is only doing its job. It is running the program it was given. Now here is where the 7 seconds become everything. As you drift from wakefulness into sleep, your brain passes through a series of frequency states. From beta, it drops into alpha, which is the relaxed, dreamy state of light meditation. Then, for a brief and extraordinary window, it passes through theta. Theta is the state of the subconscious. Theta is where hypnosis works. Theta is where deep meditation takes you after 20 minutes of practice. Theta is where mystics and monks go deliberately, through years of training. But every single human being on earth visits theta naturally, automatically, and completely without effort, for approximately 7 seconds every single night. Right at the edge of sleep. Right at that moment when you are not quite awake, but not quite asleep. That half-dreaming, half-floating sensation. That is theta. And in theta, the firewall is gone. In theta, your subconscious is wide open. There is no beta voice arguing. There is no judgment, no skepticism, no resistance. Whatever you place into your mind in those 7 seconds does not pass through the conscious filter. It goes directly into the subconscious operating system and gets written in as truth, as identity, as reality. I discovered this not through academic research, but through personal experience. Every major invention I ever produced came to me in that threshold. The rotating magnetic field that became the AC motor appeared to me as a vivid, complete, three-dimensional vision during those exact seconds before sleep took me. I did not work it out. I did not calculate it. It arrived, fully formed, perfect. I saw the machine running in my mind's eye with total clarity, and I knew, with absolute certainty, that it was real, because it had already been written into me during those 7 seconds. That is what sleep really is. It is not a shutdown. It is the most powerful upload window of your entire day, and you have been leaving it completely empty, or worse, filling it with fear every single night of your life. Now I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Not to me, to yourself. What were you thinking about last night as you fell asleep? What was the last thought that moved through your mind before unconsciousness took you? Was it gratitude? Was it excitement about your future? Was it a vivid, emotionally charged image of the life you are building? Or was it something else? For most people, and I say this not to shame you, but because the truth is the only thing that can save you, for most people, those final 7 seconds are occupied by exactly the wrong content. You were thinking about the bill you cannot pay. You were rehearsing a conversation with someone who hurt you. You were calculating whether your bank account can survive until the next paycheck. You were lying in the dark, in the most powerful reprogramming window of your entire day, and you were stamping poverty directly into your subconscious operating system, night after night, year after year, decade after decade. And then you wake up the next morning and wonder why nothing changes. You wonder why you work so hard and still feel financially stuck. You wonder why opportunities seem to find other people but never quite reach you. You wonder why some people seem to attract money effortlessly while you chase it desperately and still come up short. You think it is luck. You think it is connections. You think it is that they were born into better circumstances, or they are smarter, or the world is simply unfair. It is none of those things. It is 7 seconds. That is the entire difference. Here is what happens when you fall asleep thinking about financial fear. Your subconscious receives that fear as a transmission. It does not hear the content of your worry and think, this person is afraid of not having money, therefore I should help them get money. It does not work that way. Your subconscious only registers the emotional frequency, and the emotional frequency of worrying about not having money is the frequency of not having money. So your subconscious, faithfully executing its program, begins filtering your entire waking reality through that lens. It makes you blind to opportunities. It pushes away the ideas that could change your financial situation. It pulls you toward decisions that confirm the poverty program. It tunes your mind like a radio dial, not to the station where abundance is broadcasting, but to the station where lack and struggle play on an endless loop. And then the next night, you lie down exhausted from a day that felt like pushing a boulder uphill, and you fall asleep thinking about money problems again. And the program runs deeper, and the day gets harder, and the cycle continues until you either break it deliberately or you do not break it at all. This is not weakness. This is not failure. This is simply what happens when no one ever taught you how to use those 7 seconds. Every human being alive is doing the same thing. The entire working population of the world is falling asleep wrong, filling the most powerful reprogramming window in human neurology with fear, regret, and anxiety, and then waking up and living out the program they installed the night before. Tonight, that cycle ends. Tonight, you learn to use those 7 seconds the way they were designed to be used. The way I used them every single night for decades. The way that allowed me to receive invention after invention, insight after insight, breakthrough after breakthrough. Not through struggle, but through precise, deliberate programming of my own subconscious mind, during the only window where it is completely, totally, and absolutely open. Are you ready? Because what I am about to give you is the exact ritual, step by step. Precisely as I practiced it, precisely as it works. Let me take you to the New Yorker Hotel, room 3327. It is late. The city outside is loud with the noise of New York, taxis, voices, the distant sound of industry. But inside this room, everything follows a precise order, because I understood something that very few people in that era understood, and that very few people today understand, which is that the minutes before sleep are sacred. They are not wasted time. They are the most productive minutes of the entire day, and they must be treated as such. Every night, without exception, I performed what I now call the 7-second ritual. And tonight, I am going to walk you through every single element of it, exactly as I practiced it, exactly as it works, and exactly why each part matters. Do not skip any element. Do not decide that one part seems unnecessary and leave it out. The ritual works as a complete system. Every piece serves a function. Removing any piece is like removing a component from a circuit. The whole thing stops working. The ritual has 3 elements: a physical anchor, a spoken declaration, and a 7-second vision. The first element is the physical anchor. Every night before I slept, I would hold a small object in my hand as I lay down. In my case, I used steel balls, small, heavy spheres that I would hold loosely in my palm as I drifted towards sleep. The purpose of this object was not symbolic, it was functional. As you enter the theta state, as your body crosses that threshold from wakefulness into unconsciousness, your grip naturally relaxes. The object falls, and the moment it falls, either onto the floor or onto a plate I placed beside the bed deliberately so that the sound would wake me slightly. That physical event becomes a precise marker. It tells you exactly where the threshold is. It catches you at the exact 7-second window. This is not a trick. This is engineering. I was an engineer. I engineered the ritual the same way I engineered a circuit, with precision, with purpose, with zero tolerance for randomness. You do not need steel balls. You can use any small object that you can hold loosely in your hand. A smooth stone, a coin, a small crystal. The material matters less than the weight and the looseness of your grip. Hold it gently, not tight enough to keep control of it. Loose enough that the natural relaxation of sleep will release it. That release is your signal. The second element is the spoken declaration. Before you close your eyes, before you pick up the object, while you are still fully awake but preparing for sleep, you speak a single sentence aloud. Not in your mind, aloud. Spoken voice creates physical vibration. Physical vibration enters the air. The air carries it to every surface in the room, and the room holds it as a frequency while you sleep. Your declaration must be in the present tense. Not I will be wealthy. Not I want to attract money. Those sentences carry the frequency of absence. They declare that wealth is somewhere in the future, separate from you. Your declaration must state what is already true in the reality you are building. I am wealthy beyond what I can currently see. Money flows to me through channels I have not yet recognized. I am the kind of person that abundance finds. Speak it clearly, speak it slowly. Speak it as if you are reading a fact from a textbook, not as a wish, as a statement of existing reality. The third element is the 7-second vision. This is the core. This is where the transmission actually happens. After you have spoken your declaration, after you are lying down holding your anchor object, as you begin to feel the pull of sleep, in those final seconds before the object drops, you hold one single image in your mind. One image only. Not a list of things you want. Not a complicated scenario. One image. It must be an image of yourself, seen from your own eyes, not from outside yourself, experiencing a moment of complete financial abundance. You are not watching yourself be wealthy. You are being wealthy. You feel the texture of it, the warmth of it, the specific emotional sensation of absolute financial security and freedom. You are standing in a moment where money is not a problem, where you are free, where you have more than enough. Hold that image, hold that feeling. 7 seconds, that is all you need. Because after 7 seconds in the theta state, that image has been received by your subconscious as reality. The transmission is complete, and then you fall asleep, and the most powerful computer in the known universe, your own subconscious mind, works all night long to make what you transmitted a physical fact. This is not fantasy. This is how I worked. Every invention I created was first transmitted to my subconscious during those 7 seconds before sleep. I did not dream vague dreams. I received precise visions because I had programmed my subconscious with a precise transmission. You will do the same, not for inventions, for wealth, for financial freedom, for the life that is already waiting for you in the universe's database, already complete, already real, waiting only for you to tune in and receive it. Now I will give you the exact words, the precise declarations that carry the highest financial frequency. The sentences designed not for poetry, but for transmission, not for comfort, but for power. These are not affirmations in the way that self-help books use that word. These are frequency commands, coded in present tense language, structured to bypass the conscious mind's resistance, and calibrated to resonate with the specific vibration of financial abundance. The first declaration is this. Say it exactly as I give it to you. Wealth recognizes me and returns to me now. Say it slowly, one word at a time. Feel the weight of each word. Wealth recognizes me and returns to me now. This sentence does several things simultaneously. It treats wealth as a living frequency, which it is. It removes the idea of struggle or chase and replaces it with recognition and return, as if wealth is simply coming back to where it belongs, which is with you. The word now is critical. Not soon, not eventually, now. It anchors the transmission in the present moment, which is the only moment the subconscious understands. The second declaration is this. I am the channel through which abundance flows freely and endlessly. This sentence is important because it removes the idea of you as a container trying to fill up. A container has limits. A container can be empty. But a channel is always moving. A channel is a conduit between unlimited supply and the physical world. When your subconscious accepts this identity, which it will after consistent repetition during theta state, it begins automatically positioning you as someone through whom money moves. You become the kind of person that good financial opportunities flow toward, the kind of person that money finds. The third declaration follows the 369 rhythm, which is the rhythm of the universe itself. I discovered, through years of experimentation, that the numbers 3, 6, and 9 are not simply numbers. They are structural frequencies. The universe is built on them. A declaration built in 3 parts, spoken in a rhythm of 3, carries a resonance that single-sentence declarations cannot match. Here is the 3-part declaration. Speak each part separately, with a breath between them. I receive, I multiply, I give freely. 3 parts, 3 transmissions, 3 frequencies combining into one powerful signal. Receiving opens the channel. Multiplying programs the subconscious to not just accumulate, but to expand. Giving freely removes the fear energy that most people wrap around money, which is what blocks it in the first place. Fear of losing it, fear of spending it, fear of it running out. When your subconscious is programmed to give freely, the fear of loss dissolves and the channel stays open. Speak whichever of these declarations resonates most powerfully with you. If you feel resistance when you say it, that is not a sign to stop. That is a sign of exactly where your block lives. The resistance is your current subconscious program defending itself. Say the declaration anyway, especially when it feels false. Especially when the voice in your head says, "This is ridiculous. Nothing will change. People like me do not become wealthy." That voice is the old program, and the only way to overwrite it is to keep transmitting the new one. Night after night. 7 seconds at a time. Until the new program is louder than the old one. Until your subconscious stops defending poverty and starts executing abundance. And it will. I promise you, it will. There is something I must tell you about the people listening to this right now, and I want you to understand that what I am about to say is not flattery. I am not a man who flatters. I am a scientist, and scientists state what they observe. What I observe, and what I observed during my lifetime through my study of global cultures and their relationship to energy and frequency, is that you have a natural advantage when it comes to this ritual that very few cultures on Earth possess to the same degree. Let me explain why. The entire mechanism of the 7-second ritual depends on one fundamental skill: the ability to feel, not to think, not to analyze, not to calculate or plan or strategize, simply to feel, to access genuine emotional frequency in the body and sustain it for 7 seconds with absolute sincerity. And this is precisely where most modern minds fail. They have been trained from childhood to live in the thinking brain, to trust only what can be measured, argued, and proven. Emotion is considered weakness in many frameworks. Intuition is dismissed. The felt sense of energy is labeled superstition. But your culture has preserved something that much of the modern world spent centuries trying to erase. You preserve the knowledge that feeling is not weakness, that the invisible world is not imaginary. Your ancestors built an entire spiritual architecture around the understanding that everything has energy, that objects carry feeling, that words have power beyond their meaning, that the way you hold a cup of tea or the way you bow or the way you stand in stillness and bring your hands together is not ceremony for ceremony's sake, but precise frequency management, precise tuning of the human instrument to the energy field of the universe. This is exactly what the 7-second ritual requires, and you already know how to do it. It is in your cultural memory. It is in your language. The concept that words carry spirit, that sound carries power, that language is not merely a communication system, but a reality-shaping tool. This is not mythology. This is physics expressed through culture. You do not need to learn anything new to perform this ritual. You need only to remember what your ancestors knew: the stillness before speaking, the sincerity of the bow, the complete presence in a single moment, the absolute absence of irony or distance or skepticism in the face of the sacred. Bring that same quality to your 7 seconds, and you will find that the ritual does not just work for you. It will work for you with a power and speed that will genuinely surprise you. For those of you who want to go further, who are not satisfied with the basic ritual and want to amplify its power to the maximum degree possible, I am going to give you 3 amplifiers. These are the additional elements I incorporated into my own practice on nights when I required the strongest possible transmission, the nights when I was working on something of great importance, the nights when I needed the subconscious channel to be as clear and as powerful as possible. The first amplifier is what I call intentional darkness. Most people fall asleep with some source of light present: a screen, a street light through a curtain, a standby light on an electronic device. This is a significant interference. Light, even very low levels of light, keeps a portion of the brain in a mild alert state. It keeps the transition from beta to theta slower and less complete. For the 7-second ritual to work at maximum power, the room must be in complete darkness, not dim, complete. Cover every light source. Block every crack of external light. When your eyes open in that darkness and see absolutely nothing, your brain accelerates toward theta. The transition happens faster. The 7-second window becomes more defined, more powerful, and the transmission goes deeper. The second amplifier is the 369 pre-ritual. Before you lie down, before you pick up your anchor object, perform this precise sequence. Take 3 deep breaths, slow and deliberate, feeling each breath as an intake of universal energy and each exhale as a release of every financial fear you have been carrying. Then, for 6 seconds, hold a single image in your mind of your life 1 year from now, financially free, completely provided for, with more than enough. Not the details of how it happened, just the feeling of the result. Finally, speak 9 words aloud. Only 9. Choose 9 words that represent your financial reality as you intend it to be. Make them count. Make them precise. Make them charged with real emotion. This pre-ritual prepares the subconscious to receive. It is the equivalent of tuning a receiver before broadcasting. The actual 7-second transmission then goes into a channel that is already open, already aligned, already ready. The third amplifier is physical stillness. This sounds simple. It is not. True physical stillness, complete motionlessness of the body, is something very few modern people can achieve. We shift, we adjust, we scratch, we reach for the phone. But when the body is completely still, the nervous system begins to quiet in a way that accelerates the shift into theta. Practice lying down and not moving for 5 minutes before the ritual begins. Not fighting the urge to move, but simply allowing the body to settle, like water settling in a still container. By the time you begin the ritual, your body will already be operating at a lower frequency, and the transition into theta will be almost instantaneous. Use these amplifiers on the nights that matter most. New beginnings. The night before an important decision. The night before a meeting that could change your financial life. The night when you feel the most resistant, the most fearful, the most doubtful, because those are precisely the nights when the ritual is most necessary and most powerful. Now I must warn you, because there are mistakes that will destroy this ritual completely. Mistakes that most people will make without realizing it, and if you make these mistakes, you will come back and say the ritual does not work, and you will be wrong. The ritual will have worked exactly as designed. It will have recorded precisely what you gave it. The mistake will have been yours. The first mistake is the screen before sleep. If you are looking at your phone, your tablet, or your television in the 10 minutes before you begin the ritual, you have already damaged it. Blue light from screens suppresses the natural brainwave shift toward theta. It keeps you in beta longer. It fills your mind with external content, other people's stories, other people's fears, other people's realities, right before the most important transmission window of your day. Put the screen down, not just because the light is harmful, because the content is poisonous to the frequency you are trying to build. The last 10 minutes before the ritual must be quiet, dark, owned entirely by you. The second mistake is speaking the declaration without emotion. Words without feeling are empty signals. They carry no frequency. A declaration spoken from the throat while the mind is distracted and the body is tense does nothing. Less than nothing, in fact, because you have now trained yourself to associate the words with emptiness. The declaration must be felt. If you cannot feel it in the moment, do not move forward. Breathe first. Recall a genuine memory of feeling financially safe, even briefly, even a small moment. Use that feeling as the ignition, then speak. The third mistake is checking for results in the morning. This is the mistake that kills more rituals than any other. You wake up, and your first thought is, did it work? Has anything changed? You scan your bank balance, you look for signs, you measure, and when nothing extraordinary has happened overnight, you feel the pull of doubt, and that doubt becomes the transmission for the next night. Stop checking. The ritual is not a vending machine. It is a long-range signal being sent into a vast system. The results arrive through a chain of events, opportunities, ideas, encounters, and circumstances that your conscious mind did not predict and cannot track. Trust the process completely, or do not begin it at all. The fourth mistake is telling skeptical people what you are doing. One conversation with someone who thinks this is foolish will inject their doubt into your belief system. You will hear their dismissal in your mind as you try to feel the declaration. Their skepticism will become interference in your transmission. Keep this practice completely private. Tell no one who has not already demonstrated that they are open to this understanding. Silence is not weakness here. Silence is protection of the signal. The fifth mistake is mixing this ritual with other systems. Some of you are already practicing other methods. Visualization techniques from other teachers, affirmation systems from other traditions, meditation practices from other schools. I respect all genuine paths toward higher consciousness, but frequencies must be consistent. If you are programming your subconscious with one set of beliefs each morning and a different set each night, you are creating interference, not alignment. Choose this ritual completely for 30 days. Only this. Give the signal time to establish itself as the dominant frequency before you begin layering other practices. The sixth mistake is performing the ritual mechanically. After a few weeks, the steps will feel familiar, and familiar can become automatic. Automatic becomes empty. The ritual must be performed with the same level of presence and intention on day 47 as on day 1. More, in fact. Because by day 47, you should have accumulated enough evidence of the ritual working to fuel even stronger emotion, even deeper conviction, even more powerful transmission. If it becomes a habit without feeling, it stops working. Stay awake to it. Stay present. Every single night. The seventh mistake is stopping before the transformation is complete. The dominant thought patterns of the subconscious take between 30 and 90 days to fully shift with consistent reprogramming. Most people stop at 2 weeks because they have not seen the results they expected, and the moment they stop, the old program floods back in. 30 days minimum. 90 days for a complete and permanent transformation. Mark it on your calendar. Make the commitment. Do not negotiate with impatience. The universe operates on its own timeline, not yours. Your job is to keep the signal transmitting until reality reorganizes around it. I want to tell you something about the last night of my life. January 6th, 1943. I was 86 years old. My body was failing. I had not left my hotel room in months. The world had largely forgotten me. The financial empire that my inventions had helped build belonged to other men. I had no money. I had no family nearby. By every conventional measure, I was a man who had lost. And yet, on that final night, I performed the ritual. One last time. I lay down in the dark. I held my anchor. I spoke my declaration to the empty room. And in those 7 seconds before sleep, I held one image. Not wealth, not fame, not vindication. I held the image of every person in the future who would one day receive what I had discovered. Every person who would lie in the dark and use those 7 seconds to change their life. Every person who would wake up one morning and feel the shift, that unmistakable sense that the world has become lighter, that abundance has begun to move toward them, that the long struggle is finally ending. That was my transmission on the last night of my life. You are the receipt of it. You deserve wealth. I say that not as encouragement. I say it as a scientific statement. You are a human being, which means you were built by the universe to receive, to create, to expand, and to thrive. Poverty is not your natural state. Struggle is not your destiny. Lack is not what you were designed for. It is a program, installed through years of fear-based thinking, fear-based culture, and 7 seconds of nightly reinforcement. And programs can be changed. That is the entire point of tonight. Starting tonight, those 7 seconds belong to you. Not to your fears, not to your employer, not to the news, not to the version of yourself that has been telling you that more is not possible. Those 7 seconds belong to your future, and your future is already wealthy, already free, already complete. It is waiting in the field of all possibilities, pulsing with the frequency of your name, trying to reach you. All you have to do is hold that object, speak those words, hold that image, and let sleep carry the transmission. Now I want you to do one thing before you close your eyes tonight. Go to the comments. Write these 3 words exactly. The ritual is set. That is all. But when you write them as a declaration. Write them as someone who has already decided. Because you have already decided. You listened to all of this. You stayed until the end. That is not an accident. That is your subconscious already recognizing a frequency it has been searching for. The ritual is set. Write it, mean it, and then lie down in the dark. Hold your anchor, speak your declaration, hold your vision, and let the 7 seconds do what they have always been capable of doing. I am Nikola Tesla. I did not come back to give you hope. I came back to give you a tool. Use it every night, without fail, without doubt, without apology. The universe has been waiting for you to tune in. Tonight, you finally will. Good night and good morning. Because tomorrow, you wake up different.